Next we have Mark Branson. Mark is the owner-manager of Branson Farms, a 1,200 hectare mixed farm in Stockport, 80 k's north of Adelaide. He grows wheat, barley, canola, peas, beans, lentils, and breeds fine wool merino.
Don't want that in there.
He studied at Variability Ag College, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Applied Science in Ag. And back in 1997, he purchased a yield monitor for his header and has been yield mapping since, so just as long as Michael. He took up controlled traffic in 2004 and became one of South Australia's first farmers to practice that technology. In 2002, he was a founding member and ex-president of SPA, and he's been involved in numerous grain-producing farmer organisations. In 2005, he was awarded a Nuffield Scholarship where he undertook an 18-week study tour looking into precision ag. And today, Mark will be presenting his journey on precision ag, the economics that support his continued application of technologies. So let's welcome Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. You've already done part of my talk, so that's great. Welcome everybody. It's good to come up here to a different area. I haven't been up here before, so it's great to see. It's great to see some lime piles out there, which driving on the way up, I could see that people are getting into it and starting to get busy with that as we are at home. So yeah, I've been in it for quite a long time and still excited about what's coming up into the future. It's 1,200 hectares is the property. Rainfall is 425 to 525 mil rainfall. Mostly during the winter, we don't have too much summer rain. It's dry land, no irrigation, 80% cropping and 20% sheep. And that's where we are. It's probably halfway between the Barossa and Clare valleys. So for wine lovers like myself, it's a very nice, handy place to be. And if I have visitors from overseas come here, then the Barossa is the first place you go and visit. So durum wheat, bread wheat, malting barley, canola, fava beans, field peas, lentils, as well as some pasture seeds from time to time. That's on 80% of the land, and then we've got the other 20% going to sheep on clover and dual-purpose cereal pastures. It's a fine wool, self-replacing merino flock at 18 micron. The base of the bloodstock we're on is Nurstein, so that's in the New England area. Beautiful, beautiful sheep for those who enjoy wool. The cropping system I'm operating on to today. Full stubble retention started in 85, so quite a while ago. That's when I left school. Sorry, that's my age then. No-till, we were doing it beforehand on and off, but we enforced it in 2002 when we bought new sowing machines. PA started yield mapping in 97 and went full variability in 2006 after the Nuffield Scholarship. Gave me the confidence to go out and do it after talking to experts throughout the world. And I've been heavily involved in Variability, gypsum and lime since last year with the purchase of a brand new spreader which does it. RTK, we owned our own base station in 2004, but now I actually go on a dealer network up and down our valley because most of the equipment that we use we contract as well. You'll soon see some of my equipment's quite large and we certainly have extra capacity, so we contract with the extra capacity. Controlled traffic, full in 2004. That was when the RTK came in. Since then it's changed twice on its configuration, but hopefully now we'll settle it down for a few years. And as to the previous photos, yes, you can still see our previous marks, probably from the first time that we changed. It was about 3 years after we started it up. I use a drone. We've got a Phantom 4 which we purchased 3 years ago, and I don't use satellite imagery much anymore. I put up the drone and use software to get the map as more accurate than what you can a satellite photo, with a few less hassles. I'll just go through a bit of the equipment first so you can get an idea as to what technology we've got. Sowing equipment, it's a 400 horsepower tractor with it's a smart tracks, so it's got the tracks on the rear and wheels on the front, very smooth riding, and got plenty of pulling power. And that's a Bergolt seeder purchased last year. And it's a parallelogram system. We found out in the controlled traffic system, after 10 years, we were getting ridging, high and low points across our seeding row. You'd make one mistake and that repeats after 10 years, so all of a sudden you multiplied your mistakes over 10 years. So we went to a parallelogram seeder to try and get better seeding depth than what we were getting at the end of it. And then we've got a Variability box, 3-box system on behind, and so all three boxes can variable rate. The seeder bar has a aerial on it. I actually opened up my second GPS on the controller, so I've got a smart tracks behind on the seating on the tractor bar, in which I can move the tractor. The seeding bar across and leave the tractor in the same place. And by doing that, then hopefully this year we'll be able to inter-row sow, which is vitally important to our stubble management system. I was able to do it manually before, but that involved moving the tractor. I want to leave the tractor where it's been for years, and I just want to move the bar over, and this system should be able to do it. And on a parallelogram seeder, they are prone to moving across, so by me physically pushing it over all the time, hopefully I'll be able to inter-row sow a lot better than what I would just by moving the bar over with the tractor. Spraying equipment is a nitro, probably a fair bit bigger than what we need, but I do go in and out of my crop a fair bit. I'm a fairly high input farmer, which involves a lot of going in and out on putting fungicides, herbicides and insecticides and the like, plant growth regulants, to try and get the best out of the crop. Likewise, that variable rate, I did do variable rate nitrogen with it at one stage, using UAN, but UAN's too expensive in comparison to urea. So I've actually moved back to urea and variable rate there. Spreading equipment for urea is a Kuhn spreader on calm conditions, i.e. less than 10 k's, probably better less than 5 k's an hour winds. I can spread out to 40 metres, which does restrict when I can spread and how much I can spread. But when you get them set up properly, 3-point linkage with a tubulator and a truck that moves around, you can actually spread an awful lot in a hurry, and that is over the variable rate, as well as auto width. It's amazing technology on these 3-point linkers, 3-point spreaders, linkage spreaders now that you're able to do. The harvester is just a New Holland. That's on a 40-foot front, and we're actually looking to trade that in on a 45-foot so I can put the header in the system as well. I sat on my hands for 10 years thinking that the header wasn't going to have a problem, but 2 years ago with that wet harvest, I only need one wet harvest in 10 to make you think that you should be running controlled traffic on your harvester as well. Generally in South Australia we have dry summers on hard clays, and generally you don't have an issue with your harvester in the system with compaction, but 1 in 10 years pretty much we do. And then we'll have to go and get that chaser bin in there as well, which might need a bit of modification to do so. Controlled traffic system I'm on is a 1 in 3 system, so it's 13 metres and almost 40 metres on the spreader and the sprayer, and that's on 3.3 metre wheel spacings, which is what the nitro can go down to. When I do contracting, I do go out wider than that if the farmer wants it to be wider and more stable, but if you go controlled traffic, if I'm setting them up for controlled traffic and using our equipment, which I have on a couple of farms, then we bring them back into 3.3 metres. All that equipment, as I said, is bigger than what we need. We do contract out, and I find a good selling point for me to do a reasonable amount of the work is I am controlled traffic, all my machines all match each other, and hence I can set his farm up as controlled traffic as well, and hence I get most of the work. So pretty much I'm running 3 farms off of the one set of machines, which certainly helps pay for the bills. Just need to be organised. Precision Ag, so been in there for a long time now. I'm doing Variability nutrients, Variability seeds and Variability weed management. Has evolved over time, but starts off with a yield monitor. That's a bit of an extreme yield that I've got there. I took that in 2010, and I actually took it again 2 years ago. Was able to get over the 10-tonne mark, which fantastic to go and send back to my UK Precision Ag guys who were rubbishing me that we could never get high yields compared to what they were, so I was very glad to send that over to them. But then I was in New Zealand last year, and speaking immediately before me in New Zealand was the world record holder of wheat at 16 tonne a hectare, so I'd felt inadequate after that. But it was a fantastic guy to go and talk to. So that's the first yield map. They're not a lot different than what they are today, really. There's different colour there to a different colour there. There's probably a red knob there, a red knob through there. Good black actually it's the other way around. So there, well, I've got the colours around the wrong way. So they're good areas and they're bad areas. That's a tree line, they're still the same. That's still the same, and that's still the same today. So if I ran them over 10 years, put you on top of each other, I'll probably end up with a similar map, but from 1 year to the next, they certainly do change. But yeah, so 20 years ago, yield map pretty much haven't changed a lot, other than the smoothing that we can do on them. Now I run SMS Advanced. No, I don't like doing ads, but it is a good program, and I am using Advanced because of that area there, which is equation analysis. So I can bring up a map, a yield map, and I can put an equation into that yield map, and then convert it into an application map, all through the one equation. And going from doing it manually for 10 years or over 10 years to now be able to have an equation which it does everything automatically, has saved an awful lot of processing time and my time to do it. First nutrient that I came back with was phosphorus. When I was on the Nuffield, everyone was saying phosphorus is where you've got to start because it's a stable element, doesn't change too much throughout the soil, and doesn't generally go very far when it's in the soil. So it's a good nutrient to go and work with, which is a lot better than other nutrients to work with. So I've got phosphorus levels mostly above 35, so I'm in that above 35 range on the majority of the farm. Only the newer paddocks that I bought in are lower, and I've applied a different equation into them. So if adequate, place the soil at replacement rates derived from the previous year's yield map. So here we have a yield map, and I apply an equation into that map, and I've changed it from a yield map into a target rate map for MAP to to go into that paddock. I've just based off of one equation that I put in there. Takes 10 minutes per paddock to go from a yield map through to an application map. So it's easily done. And I've been doing that for quite a while. Gone back and retested on stuff that I've done, and the equations are working. I haven't changed my pH since I've done it on the earlier paddocks that I did it with. Nitrogen, a different beast. Nitrogen moves throughout the profile fairly quickly. Its crop response is fairly in season, rainfall dominant, and hence it's a harder one to work with than what phosphorus is. But we're getting there. I use management zones to determine yield expectations. Going on an earlier talk, management zones actually come from straight up here. My father could tell me where the rocky outcrops were, where the yield was going to be low, well before I started mapping anything. So a lot of the restricted areas that I've got in there are determined through yield expectations of being low because of a subsource constraint that I've got there. And I use in-season sensors to variate according to how the canopy is looking at the time. So I do have in-season sensors which I have brought in to do my nitrogen management, as well as the en-route strips, which we'll go into. If you've been in stubble retention controlled traffic, looking after your soil for a period of time, I have major trouble coming that my mineralisation in my soil is far in excess of what a calculator from CSIRO, from PIRSA, whatever, can tell me, and hence I was over applying for quite a few years, going off their calculators, and then realising, well, I've got too much on there, I can actually use less. So that is a major problem that I've come up with. And to get over that, when I came back from the scholarship out of Oklahoma State University, they were talking up nitrogen-rich strips, and I'm sold on the idea. What I do is I apply, in the middle section of the boom spray, I apply 3 times the amount of nitrogen that I'm needing, so way in excess of what the crop needs, just in a very small area, very small strips. I mark the fence so that I know where they are, and then I go out there with the green seeker in the hand, and I scan there, and I scan right alongside. If there's a difference, then I know that the nitrogen is becoming limiting, and hence it's going to be nitrogen responsive. But if that's the same and outside's the same, that means that at this stage of the crop's life, nitrogen isn't a limiting factor, and hence why apply. And there have been times, not all that many, but there have been times where I've got right through the whole season on a 4 tonne a hectare wheat crop and not having to apply any nitrogen. And all that is all saving to me in my pocket. That way, pretty much I'm letting the plant tell me if they need nitrogen, not a calculator that doesn't work. Now, I'm absolutely sold on the idea, and anyone who's putting on reasonable amounts of nitrogen, I'd say have a go, see what you think. There might be some green seekers out there, but they're $600 now, a fair bit cheaper than the $3,000 when I bought them in. It's technology for you. But from that can tell more than what your eye can as to its cropped nitrogen needs. And as I was saying, I do on the go as well. I've got crop spec sensors, which are these 2 things sitting out the side there. There's 4 metres high above the ground, going 4 metres out into the crop. So across the single pass, I'm getting 8 metres worth of crop being scanned, and that way I can use the end-root strips to tell me if they need nitrogen or not, and I can use these to tell me how much I need as I'm going across the paddock. So I actually do need to put a bit of data into the computer for that to work, but Depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to build tillers, then your low biomass areas need more nitrogen. But if you've got a problem going on in an area where you've got low biomass, then you might actually drop it off. And hence my exclusion zones, I'm dropping off nitrogen. So it hits the exclusion zone and then cuts off. But if there's a root disease problem or something else going on there, so it all needs ground truthing, then I'm not applying or restricting the amount in there. It depends what you're trying to do. If you've got a problem, work out what the problem is, then solve the problem. That's how I do PA. So here crop spec, just basically it spits out a value. The values are there. There's a bit of variability going on. But a value is a value, and it's up to you to work out how you're going to make money out of gaining that value. Gypsum and lime, very topical today, which is all very good. We've been doing variable rate gypsum for 30, 40 years, and it's basically been by the eye, looking at the soil colour, and then going out and doing a slump test, which they taught my father years ago on how to do to see if it needs gypsum or not, and it's been great. Just by eye we were able to do it. But lime isn't quite as easy as that. Lime colour, you can have a colour of your soil where it changes, but also you can have a pH change without any soil colour change up on top or some soil characteristic that you can view. So we have actually gone down the pH mapping and lime maps. We have a contractor who uses the Veris, and hence the Veris question earlier on. They seem to work with so he actually takes samples to the lab and then gets them tested to verify how it's been going. But it does create great maps, again, it's up to us to work out what rates go into what areas to actually make money out of it. So we've got a map there. We have a map there where you've got pH, and then through the analysis wizard, I can convert that over to an application map. So I can go from 5 to 0 on my machine. But generally we do 2.5, then the next year we follow up by another 2.5. We don't do 5 tonne all in 1 year. But the contracting jobs that we are doing, they only want one pass, so we do go up to 5 if that's what they require, if that's what they want. Those of you who don't know what a Veris is, it is a machine that a little just a sleigh that goes into the soil, grabs the sample, and then brings it up, and then calculates pH from there, drops the sample out, and then goes back down again, and then gets another sample. And that way you can create a lot of sample areas in a fairly cheap way. But we don't own that. We've got a contractor that goes in and does that. And that's our spreader. We've got a agri-spread lime on 3 metre centres, and it spreads lime to 14 metres, but that's really determinant upon the material that we've got. We've gone from 10 metres all the way out to 16 metres, depending on the grade of lime that you're using. Great machine, and we're busy contracting right throughout the whole district, and hopefully making money for everyone else. So basically, I get the variable rate, I get the pH map from the bloke who does the Veris mapping. I get the raw data, bring it in SMS Advanced, create the map, and then spit it out in the controller, and away we go. Interesting, I've calculated on mine that we're gaining $30 a hectare by doing what we would do normally by eye, and out to $40 a hectare if you blanket approach the paddock. And that was on the data that we did last year. So that's almost marries up with was it Adrian? Who came up with the value before. So yeah, we get the same data in South Australia. Great. Variable rate weed management. Basically, with the extra biomass, if we can get it, is weeds. So we've got a pea paddock in which we scanned fairly early in the crop's life, and the extra biomass that we could pick off of the paddock was the ryegrass amongst it, and hence we came up with a beautiful map. We reverberate seeds into those patches, so extra crop competition against the weeds. So where we had ryegrass mapped, the next year we increased the seeding rate into that area and used crop competition to help with the weeds. But you don't want to do it across the whole paddock because you're wasting seeds if you do. So we're only doing it where the ryegrass is. Also in those areas we can apply on the edge herbicides just into the patches. They're expensive, they do knock the crop around, but they do kill ryegrass. But again, you don't want to be killing your crop off across the whole paddock. You only want to do it where you've got your ryegrass. I shouldn't say kill the crop off, but you can damage the crop with some of the herbicides you use. But certainly a good way to go. The Phantom 4 drone, I use drone deploy to do it. So I fly a paddock, put it in the drone deploy mode. I just trace around the paddock that I want to do. It goes and flies it, takes about 400 photos. Then I upload to the cloud, and then comes back a map like that, which has pixels down to 2 centimetres. So I can pick up individual plants from that map, and that's flying at 90 metres. So it's incredible technology. Takes 400 photos, takes a lot of data to upload and download, so you need pretty good internet to do it, but can be done. This was a paddock of herbicide resistant ryegrass and wild oats from last year. So I grabbed that photo or that image, drew around it, and then I got in a contractor to cut that for hay. So I actually cut that patch out, made hay out of it, and then stopped at setting seed, which is my number one aim on herbicide resistant weeds. Using PA, first thing to do, identify the variability that you've got. Everyone's got variability, that's nothing really new, but you can quantify it with a yield map or other means. Fix the problems that can be fixed, i.e. gypsum, lime, deep ripping if it's economical to do so. The sky's the limit. And then go reverberate in areas that you can't change economically. And that's pH, that's phosphorus, that's some nitrogen, some other things. Only use a PA tool if it can fix a problem. You need the problem first before you find the tool to fix it, not the other way around. Choose the right tool from the PA toolbox to fix the problem, and hence you find the problem, then you go into your PA toolbox and then work out what tool is going to economically fix that problem. PA toolbox is huge. That's only probably at least half of what you can get, but there are numerous things out there you can do. It's up to you to choose the right thing out of that toolbox to fix the problem and do it economically. The economics. Who came up with $70 a hectare? Yeah, it was you again. $70 a hectare is what you can get out of going down the PA line. Well, that's getting fairly close. That was done. That was about 3 years ago. I did that. We might be almost getting there now. I just run quickly through there how I've got there. We've got water use efficiency over 25 years, and in that time period was a change from district practice to high tech practice. And that's how I've come up with my yield gains. So I'm using the French Schultz model, which was done back in '84. I've got potential yield is growing season rainfall minus 110, which is a factor of evaporation at the time, times by 20, which is the amount of kilograms of grain you should be able to get per millimetre of effective rainfall. And hence, if growing season rainfall is 350, you should be able to go through that calculation, come up, you should be able to produce 4.8 tonne a hectare off of 350 mils of effective rainfall. But if your actual yield was 4 tonne a hectare, then 4 divided by 4.8 is 83%. So that I've got water use efficiency at that stage as 83%. So from 88 to 2005, that's what the map was. I had a water use efficiency, which is this one here, going a bit all over the place, but a trend line there of 1.1%. And in that time, introduced grain legumes, oilseed crops, new varieties, nitrogen was introduced, stubble retention enforced and no-till introduced. And then from 2002 to 2013, these are rolling averages by the way, not just straight data. I actually have smoothed the data out a bit. We've increased the water use efficiency by to 2.2% over that time. And in that time, no-till was enforced, PA was introduced, controlled traffic introduced, use of animal manures as an additional carbon source, and growing as many high carbon crops as possible, which is good for your soil, and inter-row sowing was introduced, so we're able to maintain all our stubbles. Just quickly on the economics, not a lot of yield gain over that time when you actually do work it out, but a bit. But I've done that by drastically reducing my inputs. So going RTK, I've got overlap savings of $7 a hectare. I've got nutrient savings, which is where most of my dollars have come from, of phosphorus by going phosphorus replacement over the district average that we were doing before, or the district recommendation of what we were doing before of $16 a hectare. Nitrogen by going enrich strips and Variability nitrogen over what the calculators that we were using before we brought in the sensors of $34 a hectare, and gypsum and lime, especially lime now, of $15 a hectare, and that's over my cropping area of 900 hectares. So you multiply all that out to 900 hectares. That's how I've done it. It's $65 a hectare, total savings of $80 a hectare by going down that path, but you've brought in some technology to do that, which is $110,000 worth of extra stuff that I bought in to do it. Put that over 10 years of time, which is $12 a hectare. You've got management time and an RTK signal, which you're paying for now, giving you $14 a hectare. Total savings minus expenses gives you a profit of $65.86 hectare, or an annual profit of $60,000 over $60,000 over what my neighbours aren't doing. So I'm actually able to buy land at well, I'd say $3,500 to $4,000 an acre, which is my point where I can do it. But land has gone up to $5,000 an acre, so I'm out of the market at the moment. So we're in a pretty good area, you might gather from that. But still, I've got $60,000 a year, better than what my neighbour does. PA is about solving agronomic problems, not buying trendy tools or services. Definitely, that is my number one key take-home message. If you've got a problem, find the problem and then buy the tool, or get the tool to go and solve the problem the best way. Don't do it the other way around. Don't buy the trendy tool just because it's trendy to do, because you're going to waste your money. Choose the right PA from the Toolbox, and I'd say into the future, the only way we're going to feed the world's population is for everyone to get smarter about where to apply and what to apply and when, and using PA to do it. So, thank you.